How's Ashley doing? She's doing pretty good. A lot of pain. I called her on the phone. You know, she just had surgery on her foot here Friday, I think it was. Called her yesterday, and she sounded pretty loopy. And she's, the block that they give you when they're doing the surgery. I think it was kind of wearing off, and so she has about 6 weeks at least to stay off of that foot, I think. So that means you guys are going to have to be doing triple duty, right? Triple duty, quadruple duty. We need to keep her in our prayers. We need to also remember there are some other people as well. John Rao just had a knee surgery. I called him, I think it was the day after his knee surgery. Man, he sounded like he normally did, all chipper. Yeah, it's all great and everything. I bet today he's probably not quite the same. Would be my guess, but we need to check on John. He said the surgery did go well, but still it was knee replacement surgery.
He can actually get up in the pickup yet.
Not get in the pickup yet.
He says he gets up and it hurts, but then when he moves a little bit, it kind of loosens up, and he starts rehab tomorrow.
He starts rehab tomorrow, and I knew he said he was going to do that, and the rehab is going to be in Kaufman, so that's good. And then Lynn Brantley, just don't forget about him. He's been in and out of the hospital. This is now about the fourth time maybe in the last just a couple of weeks. So they're trying to figure out everything that's going on with him, Lynn and Wendy. So let's make sure that they are in our prayers, and we're checking up on them and just seeing, what we can do for them at a time like this. Tonight is going to be a little bit different. We're going to briefly talk about what I talked about this morning, but tonight I mostly want to get into a good discussion, and that involves you. I like to use Sunday evenings. Obviously, Sunday morning is a monologue. This is meant to be a discussion, but also to equip us as a church for how we can be more effective in ministering to one another and maybe to guests who come here and so forth. And so those are things I typically don't, equipping kind of things I don't talk about on Sunday morning so much. It's a time when our core of our church is gathered together like tonight. So this is what we talked about this morning as part of our Back to School, Back to Church series that Kim will conclude with next Sunday. And what God wants is for us to build strong connections with each other. If we're going to make it through the journey, whether it be the long school year that's about to start, whether that be for teachers or whether it be for kids, or if we're going to make it through life in general, we're going to make it through our marriage, we're going to make it through our jobs, whatever it is. Life is hard, right? This is not a major revelation. Life is hard. And when it's hard, God has stated in His Word plainly. You see this in the book of Ecclesiastes that I mentioned today, as he talks about all this doom and gloom and how, life doesn't seem worth living or it seems pointless. He starts off talking about in the first 3 chapters. In chapter 4, it's like God the clouds part, and God shows him, here's a way that will help you get through all this stuff that is in life, and that is strong connections with other people. And so we talked about this verse. This was the main verse that everything was leading up to this morning, chapter 4, verse 12. 3 are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. And by that triple braided cord, that third person coming in is not just you and another person, but it's God being involved in your relationships. And so the main focus of this morning's message was this: having God and godly friends can either make or break you. How many of you would agree with that? Obviously, I think we all agree. God, if you don't have God, you can't be what God designed you to be. But also, having godly friends is really important. Very, very important. They can either make or break you. I read some passages this morning from the Old Testament and the New Testament. Proverbs is a gold mine for this. But 1 Corinthians 15, verse 32 and 33 says, evil companions corrupt good morals. Proverbs 13, verse 20 that I quoted this morning, he who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools will be destroyed. And maybe some of us have had that experience in the past. The kind of people we're hanging around, maybe they were really good and they really helped us. Maybe it was the other way. You hang around fools, you tend to do some foolish kind of things. So I think this really is true. Having God and godly friends can either make or break you. Okay, here's where I really want us to get into a discussion. I'm going to put up here, project some discussion questions. And I want us really to talk together as a church family, because there are things that this is a good church. I've been here for a long time. It's a good church. I know this church well. But there are things we need to work on and we can do better. So, and I want to there's no right or wrong. I'm not looking, what's he looking for? I'm not looking for anything. I'm looking for discussion from you, and let's all talk together. So, I'm going to start off with what you might think is, that's an odd question, but I promise you I haven't lost my marbles, okay? Okay, here's the question. What would it take for you to leave your family?
Is that permanent?
Yeah, just say, I'm done. I walk out and leave my family. What would it take?
Well, I'd have to die first.
I'd have to die first. Jakey said I'd have to die first. In other words, there's nothing, right? Okay, what about some of the rest of you?
I think people leave if they're abused.
Do what?
If they're abuse, people would leave their family for abuse.
Okay, some leave their family, but it has to be. Darlene, that's not going on here, right? That's not going on here.
I didn't say me, I just said
Yeah, okay.
in general.
How many of you would say, and I know you're thinking, man, that's a weird question. That doesn't seem to fit with what you were just talking about. Just stay with me. I haven't lost my marbles, okay? What I'm hearing people say, what Jakey said, and what Scott said, and what Darlene was intimating, and some others I saw nodding their head. For me, I can say this. It would take something absolutely astronomical, right? Our daughter doesn't live in her house anymore, but let's just say she did. To walk out on my wife and daughter, that never entered my mind one time, but it would have had to have been something, like Jakey said, I'm going to have to die, right? It would have had to have been something absolutely astronomical. Now, here's the question I want to ask y'all. Why do y'all think I'm asking this question?
Because it happens.
Because people leave all the time over little piddling stuff.
John? Steve's right.
Because the church is a family, and people leave the church quite often over things that they probably more often don't need to.
Exactly. Here's where I'm going with this. The connection is, it would take something astronomical for us to leave our family, and rightfully so. That's your family, through thick and thin, through everything, right? One of the main metaphors in the New Testament for the church is the family. We know this from the letters of Paul, primarily, right? He says this, the body and the family, those are the two, and the temple. Those are the main metaphors for the church in the New Testament. So why do you think that so many people so easily leave their church family? Like Steve said, people leave over nothing all the time. Why do you think that is? It's happened at this church this year. Over next to nothing.
Because it doesn't feel like a family, apparently.
It doesn't feel like a family, Casey. Okay, why do you think that is? I think you're probably right, maybe to them in some cases. Why is that?
Probably never were really connected.
They were never really connected. So here's the question. Whose job is it to get people connected?
The people.
It's our, now, some said our job, some said the people's job. Both. Here's what I would say. I do believe it is our job as a church leadership, you've heard me say this phrase before, like when I put up the baseball diagram on the PowerPoint. I do believe this. I believe it is our job as a church to provide the avenues for people to walk on to make connections. And I think we've done that. Now, there's more things we'll do in the future, like we're just about to start one right now. Like Randy, where's Randy Melvin at? Right there. He's leading our small groups. Sign-ups are going to start next week, next Sunday. And they're going to go through, it was September 14th when we're going to start the small groups, the connect groups. That's a means of helping to get people connected that we talked about for a long time in leadership connections. We provide Bible classes. We provide special seminars. We provide fellowship opportunities, lots of things. We provide outreach events like we had yesterday to the community where we need lots of people to join together and to help. We are providing and can, will, and do some other things as well in the future and will, but we do. It is our job to provide those things, the avenues. It's your job to walk on them, right? And I don't mean you guys. You're here on a Sunday night. Plainly, most people aren't here on a Sunday night. I think you guys are doing a good job. And I think our church, Laura and I were talking about this yesterday, at that back to school bash, and that, we got another big event coming up here in a couple months. Amazing, but, here in just a couple of weeks, we're going to have an initial fall festival meeting. Can you believe that? Fall festival? What are you talking about? Yeah. Halloween's just 2 months away, two and 2/3 months away, right? It's coming up pretty quick. It takes a whole bunch of people to run the back to school bash, to run VBS, to run the veterans event that's coming up after the fall festival, and to run the fall festival. It takes a whole bunch of people to do that. But when you have a whole bunch of people together and people are working together for a common cause, it helps to connect people to each other. So the question is, once again, why do you think that so many people so easily leave their church family? And Casey Duncan says, y'all know Casey Duncan? Casey and Debbie, one of our newest members right here. What'd you say again? You said something good, Casey. Say it out loud. You forgot what you said? You forgot. I think if I remember, believe me, I feel your pain. We're the same man. Here's what you said. Here's what you said. You said maybe they didn't feel like it was their family. You're like, oh yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, okay, that's what you said. That was good. Okay, so now the question is, so what causes people to feel like it's not their family?
Dissatisfaction mostly counts on the individual. He's not fulfilling himself through something, not allowing to be fulfilled. Just look at this group that we've got here over the past 15 years. From broken churches, broken homes, we call it. They found a place to get nurtured with the Word, what they wasn't getting. It's not all, some is relocated because of jobs or what have you. But the vast majority of us here are from churches real close.
Yeah.
Why did we leave them?
Yeah.
Maybe they don't feel a part of the family.
Okay, maybe they don't.
You're talking about your
Debbie, remind him what he just said if he forgets here in a minute, okay?
But a blood family, you're constantly around them, you see them every day, and they become a part of you, basically. And I don't think the people who just come on Sunday morning, they're not around us enough to feel like a family member, I guess.
Okay, could everybody hear what he said? They're not around, maybe the people who just come on Sunday morning, maybe they're not around us enough to really feel a part. So the question is, what do we do about that? What do we, we can't control people who don't come all the time or aren't real connected. But Jana, what would you say? What can we do about it?
I think some people are reserved, so sometimes we've got to reach to them. We've got to ask them, hey, we've got this coming up, this back to school event, would you like to help? We've got this going on in this. We've got to reach them, not expect them to reach out to us, because if they're already not feeling like family,
That's true. Now, that's a really good point that Jana's making. Now, here's, we make announcements at our church, and I'm not against making announcements. Announcements are actually important, so especially what we're trying to do here now at our church is keep announcements brief, only for the most pertinent and the most imminent things, right? But I would say generally, making a broadcast announcement or something in the bulletin as well that's a broadcast announcement is not nearly as effective as what Jana said if I go up to, or Jana and Jason go up to somebody who they can tell is not real connected, and you invite them, you give them a personal invitation. What do you think that would do, as opposed to just hearing a general announcement that everybody hears? What would that do? Make them feel like you care about them.
yeah, they're noticed.
Somebody noticed I was here.
Right,
You know?
right.
Somebody noticed. Yeah.
Places have you been where you just walk in and you walk out and anything, nobody, you know, I was in and out, nobody knew I was even there,
Yeah.
kind of thing, so if you,
I think y'all are right. I think those personal invitations are much more effective. So, you know, there are things that we can be doing as a church to help people get more connected. And so that's the next question. What can you and I do to keep our church family members from leaving so easily? Let me tell you something that I know for a fact. This bothers me greatly. It's one of the things that sometimes I can't sleep good at night, and I'm like, what? You know, and these things are going through your mind, and a lot of it has to do with church stuff. We have a good church, but little, you know, they're not little things, but when people leave our church family, that bothers me. And I know it bothers our other ministers, and I know it bothers our shepherds. And it's happened this year. It happens every year. People who, you know, they committed to membership here, and a lot of the times I'm one of the ones that will have some kind of part in talking to people about initially placing membership here, and I talk to them about what it means to commit to membership. You're making a commitment to a family. I mean, we talk about that. We're making a commitment to a family. It's, you know, not to leave easily. I even have this document that I've created that has a little section in there. You know, if you get to the point to where you feel like this church is not helping you grow spiritually, be the kind of person you need to be or whatever, there's the last thing I added to this document years ago was this, something like this. It says, please don't just leave. Come and talk to us. You know, come and say, hey, I would like to come to the elders ministers meeting that we have about twice a month on a Tuesday night at 6:30. Call the elder of the month in advance and say, hey, I would like to come and share something in that elders meeting. And if it's, let's just say, hey, me and my family are planning on leaving, talk to it. Let's have a conversation. We want to know maybe there's something we have done or could do better that would prevent you from leaving now, or maybe other people in the future. But if you just leave, we can't know, right? So, okay, go ahead, Turnell.
We can serve one another.
We can serve one another.
Even if you don't know somebody well, one of the best ways is if they have a need, helping them with it. And it helps you make a connection with them, it helps you get to know them better, and it also shows that you're willing to go to sacrifice for them,
Yeah.
which in turn helps build relationship.
I'll tell you a good way to serve. That just it kind of reminded me with Ashley. You know, we do this not just with Ashley. Our church is really good about this. But when somebody, whether it be Ashley right now, Ashley Tarleton, or whether it be somebody else in the past, who, let's just say, we typically do this if somebody just had a baby. You ladies know, when you just had a baby, you don't feel like cooking the next night at home when you go home, right? So one good thing that we do, my wife usually organizes this, does a real good job of it. You know, she puts out there, hey, we're going to have a meal train. That's a good way to serve somebody. Let me just put a plug in there. There are a lot of you ladies in here who, you're the ones that always do it. And that's great, but it'd be great if some others would do it. It doesn't have to just be ladies. But what a good way, even if you don't know XYZ person, you know, here's this couple that just had a baby. What a good way to get to know somebody and say, even if you don't know them, that they're part of our church. They're a fellow brother or sister in Christ. I'm going to make a meal and we're going to take it over to them that night. That's a good way to get to know people. Or, like in the case with Ashley right now, you know, she's she's pretty much incapacitated right now, I would say. And she, I'm sure today, does not feel like cooking. And I know for a fact that yesterday, Carrie and Judy made a meal and brought her a meal. And I'm sure that was greatly appreciated by their whole family. And I'm sure it was really good. And I know tomorrow, I think, is our night to take Ashley a meal. And then there are a lot of others. You know, Laura made this meal train. There's a lot of other. I think you got it set up for every other night or something like that, right, Laura? For a couple of weeks.
But you know, so many people started volunteering that I went ahead and started adding other days. And it's almost all.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Let me just talk about something here on this. Laura just said, you know, initially she had it for a week or something like that or whatever it was, and got so many people volunteered, she had to extend, you know. So Ashley's not going to have to cook for like a month, right? Because all these people started. Here's one of the reasons. Here's one of the reasons it happened with Ashley. We know them, right? This is a connected family, right? They've been here for a pretty long time. About 9 years or something like that. Been here for a long time, serve and help and all that. We know that family. There are other families, though, who are not as connected. And sometimes when they are also in equally as much need, but maybe they haven't been as connected as Ashley has been in the past, maybe they haven't been as connected, here's a way to help get them connected. They're in need right now. Let's volunteer to help them too. This is a good way to be a blessing to somebody. I'm just giving you one example because Terranell brought it up. Let's serve people. You know, and usually when you go over to their house, you take their meal to them, and you have, you know, you usually have a little bit of chit chat, a little bit of conversation. You get to know them a little bit, and it helps to create a bond. And if a whole bunch of us are doing that, it really helps to create a bond with those people. Okay, what else can we do? What can you and I do to keep our church family members from leaving so easily?
Somebody gets their feelings hurt. Maybe everybody doesn't know about it. Or they're offended in some way, or they misunderstand something you or I said in public. And you can go to them and talk to them about it and offer to mediate in those situations. Because 9 times out of 10, it's a misunderstanding.
All right.
And if you don't mediate those things, if the misunderstanding persists, it grows and festers. And it just gets bigger in their mind. And that's what causes them to get frustrated.
Yeah. You know, one thing, like when I'm sitting down talking with a couple, usually if there somebody wants to place membership at our church, like happened like with Casey and Debbie recently, and Jack and Belinda and Tara recently placed membership. If a family wants to place membership, you know, usually it'll be me and maybe one of the elders, or maybe a couple of elders or a couple of ministers, somebody like that. You know, we're sitting down, we're just having a conversation with them, and we're kind of talking to them about what we think it means to be a church member, and what God wants from them, what they should expect of their church, you know, things like that. What it means to be a church member. One of the things I try to always talk about is this. I tell them, I don't want to, you know, put on a facade here like a used car salesman, make it sound like, man, this is the best deal in the whole world. There's no problems here. Every church has issues. Why? Exactly. There are people there. And all of us have, none of us are perfect, right? And there's a whole bunch of us imperfect people running around here. It is inevitable. I want everybody to understand this. I know we know this, but we need to remember this. It is inevitable that if you stay at this church or any church long enough, there will be things that happen that offend you. That is going to happen. But I go back to the analogy of a family. This is your family. Families do and say things sometimes that offend one another. Does that mean you leave when that happens? I certainly hope your commitment is a lot more than that, right? Now, Laura and I, our anniversary is next week from today, actually, the 10th. 34 years. I know that's a pittance compared to some of you, but that's still a pretty long time, right? 34 years. In 34 years, my wife, I can't remember anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure I've done probably a lot of things. She's like, man, I don't but she didn't leave over it, right? What you need to be reminded of as a church, don't be looking for an excuse to leave because somebody said something you didn't like, or did something you didn't like, or made a decision you didn't like, or whatever it is, right? What if God treated us the way that we treat people when they do us wrong? Where would we be? I don't know about you, but I'd be in some deep trouble, right? There is nobody in this church or nobody anywhere else that can offend you anywhere close to as badly as you have offended God and as I've offended God. So what do we need to do when people make mistakes or when they do something that's offensive to us or the preacher preaches a sermon you don't like, which I'm very well aware of. Nobody's going to like every sermon I preach. I understand that. I'm just trying to teach the best I can what I think the text says and apply it to our culture. What should we do? God shows us grace. We should show them grace.
Right.
And if we've been wronged, we forgive them and we go on, right? We don't just leave, because here's the truth of the matter. If you leave a church every time something happens, and I'm not saying there's never a time to leave a church. Obviously there is, because just so many things are happening that are just not conducive to your spiritual growth and development, and it's the best for you and your family to leave that church. I mean, that happens. But I'm talking about, well, I didn't like this because, this happens all the time. It's happened with people this year at this church over some little thing that's really not that big of a deal, because they just leave. Instead of working it out, they walk out. I preached a sermon before, and it goes like this. The one phrase at the end was, don't just walk out, work it out. That's what should happen in a marriage, right? And this is a family. Don't just walk out, work it out. That's what should happen. But yet, I think we don't see church the way God sees it, I think. He sees it as a family. We're meant to be committed to each other through thick and thin. Comments?
Personal. For 2 years nearly now, wrestled with leaving. But man, to find out it's totally an old age thing. I'm not as valuable as I was at one time in my own mind. I'm not able
In your
to
mind.
do what I did. Huh?
In your mind. You're still really valuable to
In
God.
mine.
Yeah.
But I was looking, go back, just die on the vine somewhere where it's a older dying church. Takes a lot of work to fight that. Nothing wrong here. But I look for things, I need to go somewhere else. The simple fact is because it's me, not anyone else. And that's a tough one to fight.
You know, I saw something on Facebook the other day. Not everything on Facebook is good, but a lot of it is. Sometimes you see these things that people post on there, and it's pretty good stuff. And occasionally I'll be like, I like that, and I'll share it and make a little comment or something. I saw something the other day. I've forgotten exactly the wording of it, but it was like this. It's something kind of like this. If you go to church looking for a problem, looking for the preacher to say something wrong, looking for the song leader to lead the song off tune, looking for the Bible class to be wrong, looking for this to be wrong. If you go to church looking for that, you're going to find it. But then it said, but if you go to church looking to serve other people and to give and to be a blessing to other people and to greet guests and to look for people who look like they don't connect, and you try to be the person who bridges the gap, it'll be such a blessing to you. I think that's true. I think that's true. And it's hard to get in that mentality because we live in a negative culture. Isn't that what the news is? The news, I don't watch the news anymore. I mean, I have ways of keeping up with it, but I just don't like to. I used to, a long time ago, like to watch the NBC nightly news with Tom Brokaw. Some of y'all are like, who's Tom Brokaw? Anyway, there used to be these nightly news anchors that were there forever, and they're all not there anymore. But anyway, it got also negative. I'm like, I'm tired of this. And I quit watching it all with the great housing crisis and all that stuff back in 2008, 2009, when the world was going to end and, you know, the Great Depression was going to happen again. That's what they were saying. I said, I'm done with this. So I don't watch it anymore. It's all, our culture, our favorite pastime is just complaining and being negative about stuff. And we bring that sometimes to church. We need to reverse that. I need to come to church. How can I be a blessing to people today? I'm going to come here not expecting everything to be about me. I'm going to come here on purpose expecting, you know, I don't expect every song to be the kind of song that I want. Because you know what? I'm not the only person who's here. I'm going to come not expecting that everything is going to go my way. And that everybody's going to bow down to me, right? If you come expecting that, you're going to be miserable. But I'm going to come here, I'm going to look for people to serve, I'm going to look for people to bless. I'm going to come here with a giving mode. And I think if we had that kind of mindset, it would change everything. Okay, so let me ask you this, or does anybody have anything else to say on this? What can you do, what can I do to keep our church family members from leaving so easily? Randy?
One other thing is I don't think we can assume that other people are going to do that work, that other people are going to meet that visitor, that other people are going to welcome that new member into their home for a meal, that other people are going to follow up with the person we haven't seen for a while.
That's right.
Sometimes we assume, oh, well, they got it, they get it, they get it.
That's a good point. That's why I put in here, what can you and I do? What can I do? Assume it's me. Here's one thing. I want us all to get into the habit of doing this. I know how we are, because I'm like this too. All of us have people that we have a greater connection with just for whatever reason, because we've known them for a long time. Maybe you grew up with them if you're from this area, or our personalities connect, or our hobbies are similar, whatever it is. And we have a tendency when we come together at church to kind of coagulate with those people, right? I want to give you a challenge. When you come on Sunday morning, yes, it's important to greet everybody, but you need to be looking for, I need to be looking for people who are new here or this is their first Sunday here. And those people are here every Sunday morning. And if you're not sure if they're new or not, you know, because this has happened before, you know, go up, hey, I haven't seen you before, I've been here 5 years, you know. That can happen. If you're not sure, you can come and ask some of us. You can ask me and some of our shepherds. We know most people here. We can tell you, yeah, they're a member, or they've been coming a while, or no, they're brand new. I know it's difficult to take the initiative, especially if you're a shy person. I understand that. It's not comfortable for you. God didn't say church is supposed to be comfortable. Did he? You know what? I know that's going to be a blessing to that person. That couple, there's a couple coming here right now, by the way, like that. They were here this morning. Russell and Scarlett Brooks have 2 little children named Ranger and River. They've been here about 5 weeks in a row.
Sit right back there.
Yeah, they're good. They sit right over there, about where Alan and the Tarletons are sitting, right over there. And nice people, good people. They're trying to get connected and all that. But we have all of us do. We have a tendency just to get in our little group and talk to our little group and not talk to them. I know it's hard. I know it's a little bit uncomfortable. But it would be such a blessing to them. And I think in turn it would be such a blessing to you. And I don't just mean with the Brooks family, but I'm just using them as an example because they happen to be visiting here recently. But for any family, you don't recognize them. Politely end the conversation you're with the people you know, and go and talk to them. Here about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, Laura's family, we knew, her parents were going to be relocating to Tyler. And so on one of my vacation weeks, I went over to Tyler, and I was kind of, even though Cody Brantley eventually was our realtor, I was still scoping out some houses before he did. And I was also scouting churches. You know, I don't know all the churches in Tyler and what they're like, so I thought I'm going to go visit this church. So I go visit this church on Sunday morning, And it's a good church, not that far from where they eventually live now. And I go to that church. This is a pretty good sized church. It's probably 500-600 members, something like that. And outside, before you ever get into the building, they have a group of greeters out there. You know, like Steve and Phil and Robert, except more than that. A whole bunch of them, and ladies as well. And then right after you get through that group, there's another group of greeters right in the lobby in there. There's, you know, probably 6, 7, or 8 of them. But here's what I know. This is the first time I've ever been to this church in my entire life. I walk in there and I see these greeters and I kind of slow down, you know. They don't know I'm a preacher. I kind of slow down. I'm waiting to be greeted, right? I'm waiting for somebody to tell me what's going on and, you know, and all that. Hey, how you doing and all that. And I kind of wait there and somebody handed me a worship program or a bulletin. I said, thank you. And they were all having conversations with each other and having a great time with each other. Not one of them said a word to me. And so I thought, well, okay, I'll give them a pass, you know, okay. They're off a little bit. They're the greeters, though. This is your job. And so then I walk through the doors, and I go into the building, into the lobby, and there's another group of greeters out there. Same thing. They're having a really good conversation with each other, and I'm kind of walking, so kind of looking around like I don't know what's going on, which I really didn't. I don't know what they're, you know, exactly where to go, what to do, and all that. Once again, not one of them said a word to me, not a single word. And I eventually sat down sat down there, and a couple of people did come up, not very many, but a couple came up and said hi and talked to me for a minute. And the worship was good. They have a really good worship leader. The sermon was good that day. All that was good. But I didn't say anything. I didn't call their preacher or call their elders and, you know, and all that. I didn't want to, but I'm like, you know, you have a good plan here. You have a good set of greeters out there, but they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Their job is not to talk to each other. Our job is to welcome guests, right? And we've all been there. It makes a very unwelcoming feeling to you when you're just ignored, right? So, and I'm not saying we do that, but I'm saying there is room for improvement, all of it. We have a tendency just to walk by people because we don't know them well. If that's not in your comfort zone, pray to God about it. God, help me. This would be a big blessing to them. And you don't have to be the world's greatest conversationalist. I'm gonna tell you the key to the conversation. Here's the key. You don't have to be a great conversationalist. Here's what you do. You ask them questions about themselves, and they'll talk all day because everybody's favorite subject is themselves. And they know a lot about that, right? You just ask them about them. Just ask them a couple of questions. Don't give them the third degree or anything like that. Don't try to act like we're screening them out, which we're not. You just want them to feel welcome. That's all we're trying to do. So I want to give everybody that challenge. And I've given this challenge before, but I haven't done it in a long time. Football season's about to start. And I don't know if y'all knew this or not, but this is the Cowboys' year. This is it. This is the Cowboys' year. Because Jerry Jones said it was. I feel good about this year. I feel good about this year. We got the players this year, and I feel good about it. This is the year. But here's my point. I don't think it's their year, but anyway, there's a 2-minute warning in football. At the before halftime, and then at the end of the game, there's a 2-minute warning. And everything changes at the 2-minute warning. I would like us to implement a 2-minute warning. I know I've talked about this before, but here's what I mean by that. At the end of a service, especially on Sunday morning, because that's when we have the majority of our guests, right? When the service is over, for the next 2 minutes, at least for the next 2 minutes, instead of getting in a huddle with the people that you already know, how about we go look for the people we don't know for 2 minutes? I'm going to be intentional about going and trying to talk to them and making them feel welcome, because I don't want a guest to come and sit through the service for an hour, and then as soon as it's over, everybody gets in little huddles is talking to themselves, like my experience at this church in Tyler. and you just walk in and nobody says a word to you. We don't want them to have gone to everything and just get up and walk out and nobody says a word to them. We don't want that, do we? We want to leave a good impression. And so it goes back to what Randy said. Don't assume everybody else is going to do it. How do I know it's going to get done? I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go talk to those people. I don't recognize those people. I'm not sure if they're members here or not, but I don't know them. Even if they are members here, if you don't know them, go talk to them. And especially for guests who are here, I think that makes a big difference. Makes a huge difference. Last thing I want to say is, we've been talking about what can you and I do to keep our church family members from leaving so easily. And we talked about a lot of things. Y'all gave a lot of good input. Will we do it? That's really what it kind of comes down to, is will we do it? You know, there's a verse in James chapter 1, verse 22. You know what that verse says? It's a great verse. Be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only who deceive themselves. Isn't that a great verse? Be doers of the word, not just hearers only, because we're just deceiving ourselves when we do that. So hopefully all these things that we've talked about tonight, we'll say, you know what? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna implement that 2-minute warning. I'm gonna get out of my comfort zone. I'm gonna look for people that I don't know. I'm gonna just make them feel welcome, try to make the connection with them, and see if there's some kind of way that I can serve them at this church. I think if we do those things, I don't know that we're ever gonna 100% prevent people from leaving our church family, just, you know, over next to nothing. I know it's probably going to happen, but hopefully we can reduce it. And it doesn't just happen at this church, it happens at every church, right? But we want to make sure that it doesn't happen as frequently as it has happened at some times in the past. Okay, I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate your input. I appreciate your presence here tonight. Matthew's going to lead us in the closing song. I do want to announce that if you were not able to take the Lord's Supper this morning, if you just go right through these doors right here in that little room over there, there will be some men there who will serve you the Lord's Supper. So Matthew's going to lead us in a closing song. Let's be standing as we sing this song.
We read of a place that's called heaven. It's made of your